Robbo.
Streaming across the globe, Ben Norris, Rob McKnight, and David Robinson.
Ben, Robbo. News, reviews, entertainment, it's the Ben, Robbo. Ben, Robbo Show. Ben, Robbo Show.
Welcome to the Ben, Robbo Show. Here's Rob McKnight.
Hello there and welcome to the Ben, Robbo Show. I'm Rob McKnight and as usual I'm joined by two very handsome men. I should have said one handsome man and let you guess who it is, but no, they're both very handsome. Hello Robbo, hello Ben. No, I actually, hang on, I literally just said you are a handsome man, Robbo.
Yeah, but I was just assuming that what people would choose, so I would choose Ben. He's the handsome fella.
Well, did you notice yesterday that actually on Sunday it started and I was comparing Violet Crumble to Crunchy and I was like, name a more iconic battle, which is two products that do the same thing. And then someone tagged a photo of you, Robbo, and myself and said, here's another iconic duo that does the same thing.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I've been wanting to do,
all.
you know what, we'll do it quickly because I've been meaning to pull you up ever since the weekend. You said there's no difference between a Violet Crumble and a Crunchy Bar. And Ben, oh my God, there is a complete difference between the two. Complete.
Well, look, I didn't say there was no difference. I said that they do the same thing.
No,
so
they
they're both the same style of chocolate bar, and they basically are the same thing. You know, a Violet Crumble and a Crunchy are very similar.
No, a Violet Crumble is, yes, the outside maybe, but inside, a Violet Crumble is hard and, whereas a Crunchy Bar will, if you put your tongue into it, it will melt on your tongue.
Yeah, but isn't it both honeycomb?
I'm so glad that we did this. Yeah, they're both a honeycomb chocolate covered. Exactly. Look, at the end of the day, you could argue the same thing.
It's completely different. Completely different.
Okay, can I ask you then, Coca-Cola and Pepsi, are they the same thing?
Completely different. I do not drink Pepsi, will only drink Coke. And
what about Home and Away and Neighbours? Home and Away and Neighbours, what do you reckon? Oh, come on.
One set in the suburbs, one set in the beach. No, not the same. It's not the same at all.
A suburb is at the beach. A suburb at the beach. Summer Bay. Okay, anyway.
Oh, there's no difference between black and white, is there, Ben? You know, red and green, they're all the same.
No, that's not fair. That's not fair. They're both honeycomb wrapped in chocolate.
Exactly right. Thank you.
Yes, but they're different
and
types
Robbo
of... Oh, my God. Seriously, people, please support me because it seems I'm in a show with idiots. So share your feedback, #BRR Show on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Let us know what you think on the great honeycomb debate.
You heard it here first. If you don't agree with Rob, you're an idiot. Is that right?
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the way I feel about life in general.
Okay. You just said a mouthful right there, sister.
Indeed. All right, look, we've got a lot coming up today, including Sam Dastyari. He's going to cut through the political BS, and it's always a fun chat with him. And we're going to meet David Robinson's grandmother, Mrs. Robinson, a former Miss Australia. It's going to be very exciting.
She was. In 1839, she took up the role of Miss Australia. She's still got it. I mean, the boobs are in a different location now, but they're still there.
Yes, and I must say, she looks remarkably like you. I had a chat with her a little earlier, Robbo, and gosh, the similarities, it's uncanny.
She's got strong genes. That's how she got through the war. Anyway, sorry.
Let's get into today's show. And before we get into our hot button topics, let's bring you up to speed on the latest developments regarding COVID-19. There have been 384 new cases and 6 deaths over the past 24 hours in Victoria. Premier Dan Andrews has banned all elective surgery unless it's vitally important, basically an emergency. 14 new cases have been registered in New South Wales as clusters in Sydney start to grow. And despite a court order not to go ahead because of the COVID-19 concerns, the planned Black Lives Matter protests are drawing a crowd, and so far 3 people have been arrested as we go to air. Now look, a side effect of the COVID-19 pandemic is that it's brought a lot of Karens out of the woodwork, but some people are asking whether they should be given airtime at all. Television journalist Holly Burns believes that the Today Show was scraping the bottom of the barrel and that Karens shouldn't be given airtime. Have a look at what happened on the Today Show this morning.
COVID was around.
did you work
but
as a
I'm telling
medic?
you right now, the statistics are wrong.
When did you work as a medic?
Last time was about 4 years ago.
Because I've got here that you're a
was
professional
about 4 years
psychic.
ago last time.
Are you a medic or a psychic?
Yes. Yeah, I've been a professional psychic, a working psychic since I was 9 years old.
You deliberately went into that place to antagonise workers who are literally just trying to do their bit for the country right now, trying to protect other people from passing on this killer virus, which is what it is. You have and espouse all these weird, wacko beliefs, and unfortunately there are people out there who are going to believe you and who are going to side with you, and that's just irresponsible in the current climate. It's just irresponsible. You know what? I can't even listen to you anymore. I'm so sorry.
Can I just put it to you, Carl?
I can't even listen to you.
I can't put it to you. You can't listen to me.
Nah.
I have a medical exemption.
Nah, it's wrong. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Carl went on to say that they shouldn't have given her airtime. He agreed with that. Kevin Perry from TV Black Box also questions whether these people should be given screen time, adding that they're desperate for attention. Robbo, I actually disagree with this one because I think there is something to be said for hearing these viewpoints, and if the whole of Australia disagrees with them, isn't that a good thing? We now live in this culture where if I disagree with you, you can't be on television.
Of course it is. This was such a missed opportunity by the Today Show. So I don't agree with Holly, but I do just think that this was... Don't bring someone on like that just to talk over them, just to ridicule them. What you should be doing, especially in a platform like that, is to... You got her on. So... I know we're going to talk about it in a couple of moments, but she wasn't doing media yesterday, but you got her on. I do want to hear from her. Now, if I don't agree with her at all. I think she's an idiot. But I want to hear from her. So to have a presenter go, I can't talk to you anymore. So, Carl, were you not in the production meeting when she was pitched? Let's really quickly, actually, Rob, I want to know your opinion on this. Two things here. In the production meeting, it would have been, bloody hell, we got her. That's fantastic. What a great get. We're very excited. She said yes to us. He knew that. I just think it was very poor form. So I don't think it was scraping the bottle on the barrel. I think it was a massively missed opportunity because there are more and more people like this in Australia, whether you call them Karens, Kens, Kevins, whatever. I want to hear what they've got to say, and then I'll decide. Don't sit there and shuffle papers and say, "Oh, I can't."
We shouldn't have got her on. You know, like
it was good television.
Well, but they got the headlines they want. They're at the top of every news site at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think it was good television, Ben, only because it could have been great television. To give her a platform, but it almost looked like really just amateur hour, which I agree with Holly on that. It looked like amateur hour because you got the person on who's got a wonderfully, and I say wonderfully, I just mean wonderfully different opinion that a lot of people agree with.
And now look, the thing is, Ben, what I would say to you is that, to be honest, the interview was really boring until they went, oh, we're sick of hearing it. It was almost like this isn't going where we wanted. They didn't challenge her on her ideas that she could sue people, that she was entitled to be on a private property and not wear the mask. None of that seemed to get brought up. Look, it was good that they brought up the psychic thing and they were trying to discredit her that way because she thinks she knows medicine. Now, she obviously has this... conspiracy theory agenda, but none of the issues that she brought up in those videos yesterday with the Bunnings staff was really addressed, and then they just cut it out. And I think there was room for a better debate and a better television. I don't mind a cut-off. That's fine. If she'd started ranting and raving, she was the most composed.
Yeah, I know. But look, the whole thing was orchestrated for a particular opinion. And that opinion that they were trying to get across was, let's get this woman on. Everyone's talking about her. Don't doubt for a second that they celebrated getting her on there. But they did it for the sole purpose of leading her to the point where they would hang up on her. And the purpose of doing that for the Today Show is of great cause. And the cause and effect is that there is all these Karens coming out. Yesterday, radio stations all around the country were bombarded with videos of wannabe Karens. Now, once we start giving these people a platform, this is just the start of the Karen pandemic. And if we continue to put them on our shows and we continue to highlight them and watch their videos, Karens will continue to emerge. And like anything, they will mutate and they will grow out of control and it'll become this new thing. And the one thing I don't want to see is Karen, aka that woman, on I'm a Celebrity this year because we have celebritized her and her craziness.
Actually, really, Ben, two great points there. I believe you in that respect as well. I don't think that they should be giving a platform in a celebrity sense. Absolutely agree with you. I think that's a really good point. And the other one, I think you're right. What it seems that the Today Show did was literally just get her on there to do the hang-up.
That's what it felt like.
Absolutely they did.
And I think that's a
And
great
you know what?
idea, Ben.
There was plenty of options. There was plenty of options that they could have gone with. They chose one, and sometimes that's good TV. You know, just let's pick this thing. Let's get Crazy McCrazy on, and let's hang up on it.
But which I think is, again, I just want to go back to this. It's such a wasted opportunity because, like you mentioned, Rob, as well, she was the most measured there. Now, whether you agree or disagree, she was having a measured debate. Now, we have put a call out to a man who is anti-mask because I think, Rob, you agree, and Ben, you agree, like it's in. Well, maybe I don't know if you agree, Ben, or Rob. Actually, I just made that all up. But I would like to have an actual debate.
Yes,
but I would like to have an actual debate with.
I want to find out why.
Show massively failed, and when I contacted this guy, he said to me,
"I'll be Karen." Do you know what? No. I'll be the guy.
Wait,
okay, let's do it.
No. Hang on. Let him finish his point, Ben.
All I want to say is that he wrote back to me very quickly, and he said, "As long as you keep it peaceful and don't try to set me up or anything like that," which I wholeheartedly agree with that. I don't want to set him up. I actually want to hear from these people that isn't part of a 20-second Facebook video where they're going off. I want to have an actual debate. Now, whether we agree with him or not, it doesn't matter, but there are plenty of people who do. Today's show failed today.
This is a section of our community that we're mocking and not looking at the real root of the cause. Why do they feel this way? Why do they not trust their government? Why do they not trust the science? This is a real big issue. Yeah. You know, I would like to find out more about that. And it's not just about Karens, to be honest, Ben. I'm more concerned about the anti-mask movement and why. Just why. So let's hope he comes on tomorrow, and that would be great. But look, it would appear that Bunnings Karen would like to pick and choose when she gets attention. She may have appeared on the Today Show this morning, but yesterday called the police when a crew from a current affair showed up at her house to interview her. Have a look at this.
A Kerry living in lockdown in Melbourne's southeast. Kerry Nash's problem with protecting others doesn't extend to herself. Surrounded by CCTV, she had plastered a notice against trespassers beside her front door before we came knocking.
I'm just curious to know, after everything you said about your rights, did you end up getting a fine? Are you going to fight it in court? What comes next?
Unwilling to answer our questions, Ms. Nash instead called the police and continued arguing, turning to the law she was fighting to avoid explaining herself.
Obviously, everything that's happened with yesterday and that, she's quite upset herself, and she just feels she's being attacked.
It's interesting, Ben, on this one, that yesterday when she walked up to Bunnings workers and people from Australia Post, she had no issue filming them without their permission. The guy at Bunnings on private property actually asked her to stop, and she would not stop. And the fact that she feels attacked, they weren't banging on her door, they were just... This is
the issue that you both have, and let me clarify it for the two of you. You have rightful questions to a particular community that don't want to wear masks. This is what I want to make sure we don't do, and that is find people who are antagonistic, like this woman. I want to take that attention seeking away from her. I want to take all of this crap that she's putting out there trying to get attention, and let's talk to people who genuinely don't want to wear masks and have reasons why. Not these crazy people, because what these people are doing, and this is the platform I need to take away, or I need to, you need to, we all need to, and that is we need to take it away from particular antagonistic people who are doing shit things like going into Bunnings or going into post offices with their cameras already going, ready to antagonize people. Yes, let's offer a platform to people who want to talk about not wearing masks. Let's absolutely do that. But let's not reward bad behavior, because the more you keep doing this, the more they will go out there into, you know, McDonald's and have young people serving them at McDonald's and argue with young people for their own benefit. It's not needed. There's plenty of people who've got opinions about masks that we can have conversations with on this show that'll be peaceful and pretty respectful.
Although
But we
I
don't
will
need to
say,
do it with
I
these
would have
parents.
interviewed her. Given the opportunity, I absolutely would have put her on this show, and I
Don't
would have
support
interviewed
her.
her because not only about the mask issue, but about the way she thinks it's all right to treat these people who are doing their jobs, who are not causing her any issues, who are following the law as laid out by the Premier of that state. I actually would have liked the opportunity to talk to her, and she wasn't going off in that interview.
No.
I feel like you could actually have that that chat. Having said that, I have a feeling that she was about to go down some batshit crazy propaganda stuff, but I still would have liked to have given her the opportunity to have that chat.
Because you want to have that chat with her. Now, I get what Ben you're saying, and I think there are a lot of Karens, I guess, who are going for attention. Weirdly, my instinct here is that she believes it, and that's what makes her interesting to me. I don't believe, yesterday, Ben, and good point, you said about the Chick Boom girl. She was clearly out for attention, and I agree with you. I really did yesterday when you said that. But when I listened to this woman, watch the videos, hear what she has to say online, I actually believe that she believes in this particular way of thinking. Now, that's fine for her, but I desperately want to find out from the people who have this alternate opinion that why do they think that? Because all the media ever does is do what the Today Show did today and goes, well, you're an idiot, you blah, blah, blah. No. We can say that at the end, or we can say a different thing at the end, but let's hear what she's got to say.
Yeah, I know, but great. I think that you've raised a really good point, and tomorrow on the show, I will bring someone on here that is willing to have a conversation from her standing point without the crazy and without that antagonistic side, because that's what we need to do. You've got questions that she could possibly answer, but we cannot reward...
I've already got one.
Robbo's already booked someone. We can have them both on.
Okay.
You know what?
No.
Let's save that for off air.
Sorry, Rob. Sorry.
All right.
But it is, I had no idea we were leading to that. But look, I think that is a more suitable thing to find someone who is not using their cameras to gain attention for this. We want to talk to someone who has beliefs.
Yep. Look, as we mentioned earlier, the Black Lives Matter protest is going ahead this afternoon. Already 3 people have been arrested, even though there have been warnings of health risks and a failed appeal to reverse the court order blocking the demonstrations. Organiser Paddy Gibson appeared on the Today Show this morning, alleging that the disapproval of the event is politically motivated. Let's see what he had to say.
I've said all along, and I continue to maintain, that this is politically motivated. The Premier has already said this morning that there's more risk indoors of you contracting this disease than outdoors. So why is her government giving exemptions to commercial organisations that allow thousands of people to gather and congregate indoors, including the major shopping centres, but they won't work cooperatively with protest organisers who put forward a plan more than a month ago to the New South Wales government saying we want to carry this out in a socially distanced and safe way?
The hurt he referred to then was Premier Gladys Berejiklian. She also appeared on the program and had this plea for protesters.
We're still appealing to people's consciences to say, if you're not worried about yourself, think about the loved ones that you could be infecting and causing enormous harm to. So we're appealing to people's conscience to say, now the law says you shouldn't be out there. The pandemic, and I think the ethical standards say you shouldn't be out there. Please think of a different way to express your views. It's a pandemic. It's not normal circumstances. And in New South Wales, we are at a very, very critical point.
You know what, Ben? This is interesting because I've been very hardline. Nope, they shouldn't be protesting COVID-19, all that kind of stuff. Paddy, in that interview, he's a well-spoken man, very reasonable actually, made the point, he said, well, if we only had 21 people turning up spread across the Domain, and the Domain is a very large area, larger than multiple football fields, he said we still wouldn't be allowed to have this protest. So is it about public safety or is it about politics? He also said in that clip, as we saw, that companies are being given exemptions to have people together. What do you think?
I think you should not be ridiculous, and I don't think you should change your mind over this. At the end of the day, the Minister for Health said these are the guidelines. The guidelines needed to be adhered to. There is people actually dying from COVID-19, and what they are trying to do is minimise the amount of people who are at risk or who will then contaminate themselves and then pass it on to others. We definitely saw a low amount of people picking up the virus when we saw Black Lives Matter protests across Australia last month, and I think we were very lucky with that. But I certainly don't think or believe into any propaganda that the media is trying to shut down or the government is trying to shut down this particular cause. It's a great cause. It's a cause that needs to be fought, and that fight will need to be had on a platform that is a suitable platform in this climate. 2020, we're in a really dangerous situation and we are trying to minimize COVID-19. I'm living in Victoria. Those statistics are high. They are scaring the shit out of me, and I'm doing everything that the government is asking me to do. And whilst I try and plead for people, please listen to what the government is saying. I'm not in the process of allowing exemptions, and that even means not thinking that protests like this are appropriate right now.
Yeah, look, the thing I will say is I do like to listen to reason, and I do evolve my opinions. So that's what I do. That's who I am.
But do you believe that this is the government trying to not allow this particular cause? I mean,
no,
this cause is a good cause.
But what I took, the thing I took out of this was that exemptions are being given, and you say very low rates. There were 2 people at the Melbourne protest who didn't get it from the Melbourne protest, and they didn't contaminate anyone else. So no one caught it from the Melbourne
luck.
protest.
That's luck. I think we can clearly say that that's luck, and thankfully that was the reality. And, you know, at the end of the day, while we evolve with information, I think it's important for us to follow what the government officials are saying.
They're being very careful about COVID-19. And look, I, for one, am happy to follow the health advice, but I do think there do seem to be 2 rules. You see, if business were pouring money into government coffers, they would be given an exemption. And that is the fact. And we see it time and time again. This is a protest. Governments traditionally don't like protests because it indicates they're doing something wrong. So I think that we have to... I don't know, Robbo. I don't know what my firm view is on this, but this guy is reasonable. He doesn't go off his head. And is it a conspiracy theory, or is it just that we do need to worry about the health concerns?
Well, I think that governments, both state and federal, are now paying for the ineptitude and the inaction from decades of previous governments who haven't done anything about this issue. So I think that in regards to that, it's a very important thing. It's a hard issue to do. But I get really passionate about this. I don't think that it's fair for politicians to get up on TV and say, guys, you can do it another way, do it another way. We've been doing it another way for decades, and nothing has changed. Now, this is bad timing. I'm willing to agree with you on that. It's absolutely bad timing, but deal with it. Absolutely. This makes me angry that they are now using the pandemic as a way of shutting these things down. Again, there is different misinformation coming out. The police commissioner in New South Wales said, he used the Melbourne protests as a way of saying that these protests shouldn't go ahead.
Because he was saying that the COVID virus spread through the Melbourne protests, which is simply not
rubbish.
True.
That's right. The chief health officer of Victoria said there's no correlation. But you're getting someone who goes on 2GB and saying things like that. Well, already alarm bells are going off. Sorry, politicians, but it's going to be a tough couple of years for you now because of the inaction and ineptitude of what your previous governments have done. It's bad timing, but you've got to deal with both issues. You've got to multitask. And that's what you're in government for.
Ben raises a good point that there is a public health thing. And this is why I'm very much on the scales here, because there is public health to consider, Robbo.
Of course there is public health to consider. But you know what? I kind of go back. I know I'm going pretty left here today, but these are issues that can't just be paused, because you know what? Governments across Australia have paused these issues for years. For whatever reason, there's always an excuse as to why we understand there's an issue there, but we can't.
Well, we're about to talk to someone about that very same thing.
Exactly.
Youths are being put in jail at 10 years old, and a decision was meant to be made yesterday whether to increase that to 14, and it was a big cop out. They've delayed the decision till 2021.
It's outrageous.
But can I just quickly say, Robbo, I get where you're coming from, but I mean, to me, it just seems like, why don't you just strap yourself to a Greens boat and run with a cause. Like, you're putting a whole
What
bunch
I
of
will do,
Skittles,
what I will do is
putting a
strap
whole bunch of
myself to
Skittles in
human
your mouth
interests.
and calling them all the one flavour is basically what you're doing. You need to break this apart. Yeah. Okay. Can I just quickly say, do we need to do a recap of what you've just mentioned? I mean, I 100% want to tick some boxes because, as you were saying, it is fair to say that the government has let us down previous to the fact. These cases and these causes do need to be brought to the forefront, and they do need to have a solution, and we do need to find our conclusions. But we will not be doing that during COVID-19. And I don't know whether or not it's because the sun is shining up there in Queensland, but it ain't shining down here in Victoria.
It's
I just think
if a government can't deal with more than one issue, if a government can't deal with more than one issue, then they shouldn't be in power. This is the right time for this. It's global. So the pandemic is global.
So you're telling me that you think that those people should go out and protest. Is that what you're saying to me?
Yes, but they should do it legally. They should do it with social distancing, because we've seen that Black Lives Matter protests in Australia. But Black Lives Matter protests in Australia haven't made...
This is why you're not a premier. Because you're not running the state and you don't have the knowledge and the know-how. And at the end of the day, you need to understand that you as a civilian need to understand your vote and vote for the people that you want to put in power, and that is your right. And I think that's what you need to champion, and that's where you stand. But jumping up and down and saying that you want to go against what the premier of these states are doing, you're not even a New South Wales
Ben, we have the democratic right to protest.
But surely
we live in a democracy.
Yes, we can vote at the next election against the government.
Are you saying to me that we can't protest in different ways, that we only need to protest in communal areas?
But they haven't.
I'm saying to you that in 2020, we've got to be thinking smarter.
A Zoom protest isn't going to cut it. That's not going to make the news. These protests are designed to make noise and get their message across. And you know as well as I do, if they do a Zoom chat, it's not going to work.
Really quickly, I agree with you, Ben. Yes, you use your vote to put in the government that you want. Brilliant point. But that doesn't mean that we can't criticise, ridicule, or hold the government to account when they are in power. Just because they got the vote,
I'm not saying that. I don't want to take that away from you. I'm literally fighting one thing. This is when I say to you, don't put all the Skittles in your mouth and call it one flavour. You need to break these things down a little bit. You know, you need to think about this rationally. What I'm saying is I want people to follow what the government is saying so that we can battle COVID-19. I'm certainly not even one single inch am I taking away from the cause. The cause is powerful. It needs to be looked at. Should we hold the governments from the past accountable for the fact that they haven't done the right thing? Absolutely. But let me tell you, as an LGBTI person, I watched the marriage equality debate be fought across very different platforms. It wasn't all just communal areas of gathering. It was different things. It was changing profile pictures across Facebook, on social media. There is very powerful ways in which we can tackle this particular issue that needs to be tackled without going against the government health officials of doing a protest.
The Mardi Gras in Sydney only started because people stood up and protested for gay rights. The Mardi Gras was a protest, not a celebration, and those people were beaten to within an inch of their life by the law.
I'm not taking this away from you. Like, honestly, I'm not taking away. Look, I completely understand. Don't come to me and say that I don't understand the history of the LGBTI rights with the Mardi Gras. Well, it's a very interesting point, but let me tell you, I would not be supporting a Mardi Gras, you know, all of those years ago if there was a pandemic happening. I certainly would not be. Do I think that they had a point back then? Absolutely. But I will not be supporting going against the government and going against the health advice. Yeah.
So obviously we shouldn't have a Mardi Gras in 2021. Then
we shouldn't.
Well, we certainly shouldn't have one at the moment. That's for sure. I agree.
Should not be.
Ben, I know that you care about the issue. I really do. I would never take away from that, and I'm not trying to get you or whatever. I agree that it's really tough. All I'm saying is maybe it's just bad timing, and we've ignored it for so long that we've got a pandemic.
That's fine. That's fine. That's valid. That's a different thing. That's completely different. You're valid in what you're saying. I 100% think it's appropriate, and you just can't put that with COVID-19 right now. And that, yes, let's use our voices. We're on a show like this where we can be opinionated. We can be better at being able to get that communication across the line, and we continue to do so. We're about to do that on this show very soon, and that is use our voice very carefully and collectively, and to our very small but getting larger audience, we are getting some very good information out there, and that is our right.
All right, Ben, you, as a man, I would expect you to, kind of say it's bigger than it is. So
anyway, it is bigger. It is bigger.
It is
70,000 views a week, people. All right, and I think this week we're actually a lot more than that. Ben. But anyway, I need to move on. We're going to do a big gear change. Because...
Can we please afford sound effects, for Christ's sake?
I tell you what, I want to change gears because we are about to meet Robbo's grandmother. Mrs. Robinson is going to be our special correspondent to interview some of the eliminated contestants from The Bachelor in Paradise. This former Miss Australia has given us her time to speak to these people and make these interviews a little bit of fun. So let's cross over to the delightful Mrs. Robinson.
Oh, sorry, you just caught me rearranging the girls. They've been a little bit low for about 40,000 years. But yes, thank you, Robert. You're a good boy. We're talking about those wonderful people in Bachelor in Paradise. It's my favourite show. But if you're like me and it's been a few years between drinks and you're a little bit dry downstairs and you're looking for love, well, this is the show where you need to go. And we're very lucky to have a wonderful woman joining us now. Hello, Jessica. Can I call you Jessica, my darling?
Either is fine. Jessica, whatever you want to call me.
Well, that's a respect thing, sweet. You've got something on your on your arm there, my darling. What is that? Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Well, that's a few tattoos, isn't it? Look, let's have a look at one of your most amazing times in paradise.
Bulla, bitches! I'm a bit of a bad bitch, and that's okay.
Maybe I'm pregnant and you have to...
Oh my God, calm down. Holy crap, he looks good with his shirt off. What's on the menu? What do we have? Do you know what? I'm not opposed to men being naked around me. That's fine.
We're a good looking duo, eh?
Well, yes. Jess, I just want to say to you, because I heard this word about 40,000 times on the show, I've practiced Bulla, Jess. Bulla. Is that right?
Bulla to you as well. Bulla Banaka.
Bulla. Yeah, I don't think you can say that on this show, my darling. But, yes, all right. Last night, you didn't get a rose from Kieran or Alex. Did you expect to go home so early, my darling?
I didn't, no. I did think I was going to get a rose last night, but unfortunately that's just the way the cookie crumbles. That's just got to take it as it comes.
From what I know about Jess...
Yes, well, darling, I just want to say this. I don't like that your cookie crumbled so early, my darling, but as soon as that bitch Kiki came onto the island, Kieran dropped you like a bloody hot potato. What was that like?
Look, first of all, she's not a bitch. She's a lovely girl. But he definitely did not like her.
Darling, let me tell you, when I was going for my my husband Roger back in the war, and any other minx came near her, I would punch her in the face. No? Is that why you didn't win? You've got to be rough. You've got the tattoos, my darling.
I look tough, but I'm a big softie. I've got a big heart, I swear.
You of course you do, darling. So, did you really trust him when he said that you had something special? I never trust a man.
Yeah, look, never trust a boy that looks like that, really. But I think I had a little more faith. Maybe it was naive faith, but I definitely had a bit more faith in him. A little bit disappointed, but yeah, men.
Don't tell me, darling. My husband's been dead for 40 years, and I still can't nab one. I don't know what it is. Do you think it's this? Is there... If I
No.
did, hold on.
That's what I've got as well. Personality and...
Oh, good girl. Oh, lovely. Oh, I appreciate that. So this is all right then?
Perfect.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, one's lopsided. Yes, sorry. Oh, you missed out on the very big Bulla banquet. Was that because you had a bit of the Bulla belly?
Yes, it was not well. It was coming out of every direction. It was not good.
I know what you mean, sweetheart. Every time I giggle, I urinate myself. So I understand what you mean. It can happen, can't it? I've got to do my prolapse exercises or whatever they're called. I can't remember. Now, you're covered head to toe in tattoos, which I love. Yes. Did you get them when you were in the clanger? You've done some time, haven't you, my darling?
Yeah, so the 45 years I did in prison prior to film, when I started getting tattoos, and now I just look like a hood rat. Love it.
No, you look beautiful, darling. I wouldn't say a hood rat. I'd say a beautiful hood mouse or something. I don't know what that means. Now, I did have to notice there that there was a tattoo, a bit of ink, I believe they call it, under your bosom there that said Thug Life. My darling, what is Thug Life?
It actually says Thug Wife, so it's with a W, which people do get confused a lot. But it was a tattoo I got when I was 19 years old, and I was slightly more stupid than I am now. But yeah, look, I kind of got it as a joke, and now it's still there. I didn't really think about the permanent aspect.
No, I understand that, my darling. Now, you say that you are you're a plant-based woman. You like to eat the plants and the leaves. But I'm sorry, darling, but judging by what I saw on the show, you're a very big fan of the meat.
You've got to dabble. You've got to try new things sometimes. And yeah, when the opportunity presents itself, I'll throw the plant-based out the window.
No. No, look, last night things got a little catty with Kira. I don't care for her, my darling. Let's have a look at that. Press play on the VCR, please.
We're very different people. Like, she's a dickhead. So I'm thinking, does he want a jailbird or does he want a hotbird?
Jailbird.
Yeah, well, darling, I want to be at a jailbird as well, but when she said hotbird, I didn't see any hotbirds in the shot. Where was the hotbird that she was talking about?
There was a seagull off in the distance, and she was like,
Oh, I do love you, Jess. I'm so sorry that we didn't get to see more of you on the island, even though we saw a fair bit of you, my darling. But I'm glad that you've had a good time. I'm glad you've been here, and I'm glad you're here in my grandson's show, the Ben Robbo Show. We've loved talking to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, she is a feisty minx, and I love her. Jess there from the Bachelor in Paradise. I just adore her. Too many tats for me, and she would probably steal a lot of men from me because she's so beautiful, but I'll take anything I can get. Robert, what are you doing later?
I'm just a little bit busy, Mrs. Robinson. Thank you for reporting there. Robbo, you bear an uncanny resemblance to your grandmother.
No, look, I do, Rob. I have to apologise. As she said, she's been 40 years without my grandfather. So she's. Yeah, you don't want to see her at the RSL on a Saturday night. Let's move on. She's on the tables.
Right. Ben, did you like Mrs. Robinson?
I could not stop laughing. I was actually watching it with my partner and we thought it was amazing. Big fan of Mrs. Robinson. I hope she is willing to interview the rest of all those sluts on that show.
Oh! Okay.
Because I don't want to.
No, good chat. Good chat, Ben. Good chat. All right. Look, in a moment, we're going to talk about a lot of big issues. We got Sam Dastyari coming up, but right now, let's go to the Ticker newsroom for the very latest news. And I'll just click that button and do this.
This is Ticker. I'm Aaron Young. These are today's top stories. After a record 532 cases reported by the government of coronavirus in Victoria yesterday, the numbers have stabilised somewhat, with the Premier announcing today 380 cases from overnight. The Australian Medical Association calling for a royal commission into Victoria's handling of the coronavirus pandemic. The AMA says a powerful inquiry is needed to find out what went wrong, from hotel quarantine to contact tracing at aged care facilities as well. Aussie workers would face years of lower wages if new superannuation laws are passed. The confidential Treasury report leaked to News Corp's expected to provide the PM with more ammunition to freeze or scrap the scheduled increase to superannuation. Data from Victoria's Department of Health and Human Services revealing young people in their 20s have been infected with coronavirus more than any other age group. This trend, where there's a higher percentage of coronavirus cases despite the lower population percentage, can be seen across all of the younger age groups. Well, forget cryptocurrency, old school gold making a comeback today. Fear of another share market correction, a sharp rebound in inflation as well, saw gold rise to a record $1,944 an ounce that eclipses its 2011 previous record. Facebook suing the EU antitrust regulators for seeking information beyond what is actually necessary. Regulators investigating the social media giant's data and price marketplace as well. And if you tragically couldn't exercise due to an outage with your Garmin smartwatch fitness tracker recently, we can tell you why. The company confirming a cyber attack was behind the outage on the 23rd of July. That lasted for days. That's the good news. The bad news is the system's back up, so get out, back on the treadmill. Let's have a look at the weather map now for today. Melbourne has a huge exclamation mark for some reason and 15 degrees. Sydney cloudy and 18 degrees. Sunny for Brisbane and 22. Perth cloudy and 20, overcast as well for Adelaide, a top of 13 degrees. Have a look now at the ASX, which opened into positive territory, shooting straight up, heading towards 1%, hovering around 0.9% as well, still over 6,000 points. Taking its lead from Wall Street, the Dow was also up above 26,500 points, a 114-point increase, which was just under 0.5%. That's the latest news from Ticker. I'm Aaron Young.
It's the Random Life Shot of the Day. Where are you going today? You never know where you'll end up with the Random Life Shot of the Day.
And today we're going to Hawaii, where there are forecasts. The forecast
Beautiful.
is scattered showers, 19 degrees with a high of 27. Isn't that a beautiful shot as the sun
Now
goes
it
down?
looks
there?
amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it makes me want to have a cocktail.
Oh yes, yes.
What about
Very
you,
nice thing
Robbo?
to
Would
do
you
in
like a
Hawaii.
cocktail?
I'd love a cocktail there. Oh, wouldn't it be beautiful?
Let's have a look at some feedback coming through to the Ben Robin Robbo
Sorry, that's
show.
all I had. Sorry.
Benjamin Norris, Violet Crumble for the win. Aaron says, I'm not an idiot, so I agree with Rob. Oh, good. Violet Crumble seem to be more traditional honeycomb that you would buy fresh, whereas Crunchy seems more manufactured to me. These are the big issues. Sorry, Ben, you are still my favourite. Oh, I didn't need that last bit. Mary says, fight. Tracy says, oh dear, Robbo. I mean, Mrs. Robinson. Illy says, OMG, this is so good, Robbo. Janelle says, just Aunt Robbo and his grandmother splitting image. Mary says, Mrs. Doubtfire isn't replayed for a reason.
Fair enough.
Leo says, maybe instead of a protest, Black Lives Matter could have had a major ad campaign. Too dangerous to do in a pandemic. Illy says, nice mangoes, Robbo. Lachlan says, Robbo looks like he enjoys being a woman too much. Oh, that wasn't Robbo. Come on, mate. Mary says, please don't do that again, Robbo. And Malcolm
sorry, Mary,
says,
it will be.
too much, Mrs. Robinson. Too much info, Mrs. Robinson. So thank you for all of your feedback. We appreciate it. Well, a decision, or lack thereof, by the Council of Attorneys General yesterday means that the criminal age of responsibility in Australia will remain at 10. This is despite calls from activists, lawyers, health professionals and even the United Nations to raise the age to 14. It was announced last night that the decision whether or not to raise the age has been put off until 2021. To talk to us about this campaign and yesterday's result is Nerita Waite, the CEO of Victorian Aboriginal Legal Services, just one of the multiple organisations involved in this campaign. Nerita, thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for inviting me.
Look, absolute pleasure. How are you feeling after yesterday's result?
Look, it's extremely disappointing for governments to delay this decision even one more day. Governments have all the evidence available to them, medical evidence, legal research, the alternatives, public support, yet they're delaying a decision until next year. They've already been looking at this inquiry for a year and a half. In the meantime, kids' lives will continue to be destroyed by the youth justice system.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I was reading the report experiencing what young people detained at Adelaide's Youth Training Centre go through. And we've got situations where their pants are off, they're naked from the waist down, they're facing front, slight bend at knees, and lift scrotum, turn around with back to a staff member, squat and cough, turn back around. Young women are being forced to remove their tampons in front of strangers and replace them. I'm always thinking about, criminals are criminals, but geez, at these young age, it is quite daunting what they're going through when they're put into these institutions.
It's abhorrent, and not just daunting, and traumatising. Some of these kids, Rob, are as young as 10. And can you imagine what that feels like and the trauma that will leave? And all it does is seek to institutionalise them, degrade them, and rather than trying to help these children and address the underlying causes of their offending so they don't churn in and out of the system for decades to come. Instead, we seek to institutionalise them from the very moment they arrive on the doorstep.
And what are the most common, criminal offences that these young people have committed to get locked up?
In terms of my state, youth justice doesn't break down offence data by age. However, some things that we do know is that children and young people alleged to have committed low-level offences are obviously refused bail, so they're unable to show cause. A lot of that's got to do with not being able to have a residence or a home. Police impose onerous and culturally appropriate bail conditions, and a lot of the offences that you'll see them come up on are things such as criminal damage. So that's graffiti. That is punching a wall if you're in residential care. There are a lot of the things. For young women, it's stealing offences. So shoplifting is the most common.
Sorry, Narita, can I just clarify that kids are going to jail because they don't have a home to go to?
Well, in order to be eligible for bail, you have to be able to show that you can be supported in community, and part of that is actually having a home to go to. So that's why you see homeless people, including homeless children and young people, often on remand, and that's what drives up our remand rates within prisons.
Wow.
So, Nara, I want to ask you, obviously disproportionately we're seeing, unfortunately, a lot of young Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people being locked up. 65% of kids actually aged in the 13 to 16 bracket. Why do you think this, what is causing, rather, this overrepresentation?
Aboriginal children are disadvantaged across all areas of life. That's education, economically, etc. A lot of them have high state involvement in their lives, such as things like child protection. And when you see that, you see a lot of impacts of trauma on their developing behaviour. You see a lot of them, a lot of our kids are in out-of-home care, which then starts off their journey engaging in the justice system because I'm not sure if any of you have children, but yes. Sometimes children, lucky you, sometimes they act out and they can yes. not regulate their emotions correctly, and hopefully there's ways to calm them down when you're the parent, but when you're not and they're traumatised and they're upset and they can't be with nan, pop, mum, dad, uncle or auntie, they might punch a wall. Now, where you or I, who have children, might discipline our children, what Department of Health and Human Services do is they call the cops. The cops come, arrest them for criminal damage. They're then put into police cells. If DHS don't support the bail application, they'll then end up in Parkville and Malmesbury.
All right, look, last year we saw 12-year-old Duwan Hussein speak at the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva. I really want us to have a look at what he said.
I'm from Marinda and Garwa country. I came here to speak with you because the Australian government is not listening. The adults never listen to kids like me, but we have important things to say. I was always worried about being taken away from my family. I was nearly locked up in jail. I was lucky because my family, they know I am smart. They love me. They found a way to keep me safe. There are some things I want to see changed. I want adults to stop crueling 10-year-old kids in jail.
You know, there's been a debate for a very long time. If we go back to 1993 in England, those two 11-year-olds murdered 2-year-old James Bolger. Do you understand why this is a complex issue for some when children are capable of such heinous crimes?
I don't disregard victims' voices. Many of our communities are victims of violence, and that is a hard issue to work through. But we have to be factual about this, that most kids are in prison for extremely minor crimes, and it is extremely rare for children under 14 to be charged with serious and violent crimes. On the rare occasion they do, it's an indication that something has gone seriously wrong in that child's life, and they need help and support, not to be thrown into a prison cell.
Well, not to say that people are turning a blind eye, but I think it has a lot to do with people not necessarily understanding the conditions of what these children are going through in prison. Can you take us through what the day in the life of a child in prison would look like?
Look, unfortunately, despite what I imagine is the good intentions of many of the prison authorities, you know, the programs that they expose them to, such as education programs, recreational activities and chores, are often disrupted by incidences, low numbers of supervising staff, bureaucratic procedures, which can see kids spending a lot of time in lockdown. A lot of our kids in there have post-traumatic stress disorder, and that requires professional treatment. So if you're not having those addressed, not only do you come out more traumatised, but you come out not having the same level of education as your peers in the mainstream community. If you look at the lockdowns that have happened, kids were in their cells for a full week, just by themselves, no programs, just having food slotted through. It's a horrible situation.
Yeah, I think it is, and I think you're convincing a lot of people watching this show right now. Look, I wanted to show you what Attorney General Mark Speakman had to say. He said a few things following the announcement yesterday afternoon. One of those was, what is the alternative regime? What are the therapeutic interventions, the behavioural interventions, the social support, the educational interventions that offending children need if they're not going to be dealt with by the criminal justice system? He went on to say, there is understandable community concern when, for example, 13-year-olds in far north Queensland are alleged to have raped a minor, and understandable community concern that kids may feel they can get away with things if there isn't some criminal sanctions attached. What's your response to that?
So I can't speak to the allegations concerning the 13-year-olds in far north Queensland, but in terms of his commentary, I would say that those programs are there, those interventions are there, but instead of having children participate in those, we choose to institutionalise them instead. So I don't think we're making best use of those programs and those funds the way we're set up now. And just reflecting on his interesting commentary, I have to say that, you know, it just makes me reflect on what's actually more important to society. Is it management of children, or is it about trying to support these children so their behaviours change, so they don't cycle in to the adult system, and that we make a real go of supporting them and changing them, particularly in terms of victims' perspective? You want to feel as though not only there is that accountability, but there's also that element of the state supporting somebody to change and develop, particularly when we're talking about very minor offending, shop stealing, criminal damage.
I think the one thing that I would want to take out of this is what your thoughts are on when it comes to alternative discipline. Because, I mean, obviously people are out there thinking we still need to have some form of discipline that's there. What's your solution? Like, what would you like to put forward?
Look, we should be dedicating more resources to the children most at risk of further offending and serious offending, not less. So don't spend billions on prisons and 10 million on early intervention and prevention in the case of Victoria. We should be intervening at the earliest possible stage with our support and care to prevent contact with the criminal legal system in the first place, and to provide culturally appropriate diversion where possible. And, you know, we need to shift our dialogue away from this idea of discipline to the language of accountability. Children's brains haven't fully developed, and they may need assistance to appreciate the harm that results from their behaviour. Restorative justice approaches would assist children to take responsibility for their actions and support them to repair the harm caused to both the victims, because they also have a right to have a say in this, and to the community. It would also assist their families, their communities and services to take the steps necessary to address the underlying causes of their behaviour. And just lastly, just want to reiterate that children eventually leave detention. So the very premise of the statement that it's not safe for these children to be in public ignores the fact that children will eventually come out of detention, you know, more traumatised, more at risk of offending than before they went in, which poses a greater risk to community safety.
That's a very interesting point to end on. Narita, thank you very much for your time today.
No, thank you, Rob, for your time.
Well, that was just fascinating. But, you know, now it's time to bring in Sam Dastyari. And Sam, we always love having you on the show because we like to cut through the political spin. Hello, Sam Dastyari. How are you?
Great to be here.
Mate, tell me, what is going on in Victoria that you believe is a game changer today?
Look, firstly, nothing good. Week after week, it seems to be getting worse and worse. While today, I can't believe we're happy that it's only 384 infected people. Yesterday, it was obviously over 500. It's been somewhere between 300 and 500 for a week now in Melbourne. What happened today was that public nurses, government nurses, will now be staffing aged care facilities that are held privately. That's a complete change to the model we always had.
So what does that mean specifically? Why is this such a big deal in your eyes?
It's a big deal because we have always had a distinction between what is a public and what is a private aged care facility. The two of them have now been merged.
Okay, and Sam, talk to me also about the fact that how does that change the private system though? You're paying for this service, so why is it important that these nurses are part of this?
Well, the private aged care sector was always the first to defend. This is private. There's no role for government. We're external. We're not using taxpayer dollars. Once you have public nurses and that in the system, you're never getting them out. We're now going to move to a more bigger, larger, better, I think, public system than the model we had. And frankly, anyone who's been to some of these aged care facilities, visited someone in them knows, some of them are pretty dire and pretty horrible places. So I think it's actually a change for the good in really kind of opening up some of these facilities, because a lot of them are, look, don't get me wrong, there are great facilities out there, but there are some terrible ones too.
So, Sam, I want to ask you about, we're hearing reports that there needs to be a royal commission into how the coronavirus was handled in Victoria. But I want to go back to the government in the way of, yes, the government probably has a lot of things to answer for, but also the public. Is it kind of a suicide mission, or is it bad form for a government to, when they're in trouble, also point out to the public, but you didn't do the right thing either, or they won't go down that road?
Look, I think there's a temptation to go down that road. It's always a mistake, right? Going out there and blaming the punters or blaming the public. Yes, there's been some problems in Victoria. Obviously, not everyone's been following the rules. Let's be honest, we all know what's happened. People have been fatigued. They're tired, they're exhausted, they're over it, they're angry. And as a result, some people haven't kind of been following the rules.
So why can't you call that out, Sam? Why is it a mistake to call that out? Because people are doing the wrong thing.
Okay, I think you have to be very careful in how you call it out. So there are a lot of people out there who feel like, I've done the right thing.
Yes,
I've been good. I've behaved well. How dare you speak to me like that? I think the way the government could have handled it better is if they said, hey, we haven't been perfect. We've actually made some mistakes in how we've done this as well, because we're learning as everyone else is learning. But, what we have to make sure we do going forward is almost... it was actually his old, the term, it's actually Nixon White House term, right? Which is called the limited hangout. It's a CIA trick, right? Where you confess to something small and then you're able to talk about things that are bigger. So almost by opening the ground, by saying, yeah, I concede something, to be able to make a bigger point. So by saying, hey, none of us are perfect, including us, we made mistakes in this process too. But you can then do that. When you say the whole, oh, no, there's nothing to see here, we've been perfect, it's all you've lost them before you start.
Yeah, okay. Before we go, because we are running out of time, I want to get your thoughts on the fact the Defence Minister travelled overseas for what was essentially a photo op. What are your thoughts on this?
It's bullshit. It's just bullshit. I mean, this is ridiculous. To fly over for a 15, 20, maybe even 1 hour meeting all the way to the US, which is coronavirus central, when you've told people they're not allowed to travel, which is only for a photo op. I'm sorry. The technology that you have at that level of government to be able to have a secure hookup that's as good as sitting in a conference room with someone. This isn't Skype over a mobile phone. This is proper conference rooms, proper setups. You can have those conversations. And if it's our closest ally, Australia's closest friend, do you really need to physically be there to have a conversation that we all know, is predetermined by, aides beforehand? This is nothing more than a photo op.
All right. Well, Sam, we love your passion. We love you. Thank you for being with us again. We'll see you. You'll join us again next Tuesday. And that brings us to the end of the Ben, Robbo and Robbo show. We will see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Bye-bye.
It's the Ben, Rob and Robbo, Ben, Rob and Robbo show.